SUVs make up almost 50% of the new vehicles sold in America, and full-size ones are growing their market share every single year. And right now, you have a lot of options to choose from rugged Toyotas to big comfy BMWs. That's why today we're gonna cover 5 that you should run away from and 5 that you should buy instead. Like, subscribe, and let's go. Our first picks are for the folks who need a ton of space, but you don't want to spend a fortune, and who still want a gas engine as well. This is the large SUV class, and one that you should definitely not buy is the 2024 Nissan Armada. This Japanese brute, to its credit, is a long-running nameplate for Nissan and has some good features. But that doesn't really matter because all of it is overshadowed by the SUV shortcomings, and there are several. It's longer than my wish list for Santa. For starters, the Armada actually ranks as worst so far for Consumer Reports' new large SUV segment. Its poor predicted reliability and customer satisfaction, along with more serious things like its lackluster emergency handling, earned it an overall score of just 57 out of 100. And while it's still very cool that it comes with a V8, the fuel economy is the single worst in its class, as tested by Consumer Reports. And the biggest complaint about this SUV? The third row space. The whole point of a gigantic truck like this is so that everyone has room, even when seating 7 or 8 people. And the Armada's third row specifically is compromised in that department, having significantly less space than its competitors like the GMC Yukon and Tahoe. So instead of getting a semi-cramped guzzler in the Armada, another large SUV you should buy is the 2024 Ford Expedition. Not only did it score better than the Armada in Consumer Reports rankings with a score of 60, but it also costs less in base form. Now, I know what you're thinking, 60 points versus 57. That's not a big difference, and well, you'd be right. But the Expedition has a decently higher road test score and gets better fuel economy. And also, Consumer Reports aren't the only one in the business of reviewing vehicles. Believe it or not, Car and Driver praised the Ford for the most important thing, space, and ranked the Expedition higher than the Armada in overall score. But listen, that doesn't tell you the whole story of the full-size large SUV. The Expedition isn't the only good choice, and the Armada, unfortunately, isn't the only bad one either. And that's because of the 2024 and 2025 Toyota Sequoia. I know you didn't see that coming. This is one we would not recommend picking up. But hear me out, because that may come as a shocker considering Toyota seems to ace every single assignment that they turn in nowadays. And of course, the Sequoia does have good attributes like its reliability and fuel economy when compared to others in its class. However, much like the Nissan Armada, the Sequoia's biggest fault is its lack of space in the third row and cargo area. I mean, come on, you two. People buy a 6,000-pound SUV for one thing and one thing only: room. And that's why it currently ranks 7th in Car and Driver's list of full-size SUVs, aka dead last. Yes, that's not something you typically see from Toyota, like ever, right? This one's even more interesting because Consumer Reports ranked the 2024 model as its best in class, getting an overall 64 out of 100. But the Toyota's predicted reliability and customer satisfaction are pretty much the only things carrying that score. The rest of its marks aren't really all that great, especially in handling and the road test department. And remember that customer satisfaction is a prediction. If we take a look at Reddit, it often tells us the opposite. And that lack of practicality makes this a tough pill to swallow in a segment that is all about practicality. That being said, we've driven them, Doug DeMuro just bought one, so maybe take the keyboard warriors with a grain of salt. But instead of buying a compromised Sequoia, your other choice would be a 2024 Chevy Suburban. Who knew it, right? America taking down the Japanese in a family car battle? Well, believe it, because the 2024 Suburban is a great car compared to the Toyota. It may have ranked lower on CR's list of full-size SUVs, but once again, that's not the whole story. Its road test was best in class on CR's list, and its handling and road noise scores were far better than the Sequoia. Not to mention, Chevy actually understood that people want space. The Suburban offers miles of room in all of its rows and makes the Sequoia feel a little bit cramped in comparison. The Chevy also costs less than the brand new Sequoia, and considering it's more practical than the Toyota, it's a no-brainer. All of this taken together put the Suburban towards the top of several magazine SUV lists. It scored an incredible second place in Motor Trend's ranking and an equally impressive third place for Car and Driver. But enough with the regular stuff. Let's get into the classy picks with our full-size luxury 3-row SUVs. Our first car to stay away from is the 2024 Lexus LX. Weird, right? You'd think a Lexus would be a great all-round SUV amongst its competitors. Not this time around. The LX has unfortunately been a big disappointment overall. Though testing has not been completed by Consumer Reports, the Lexus LX has been tested in full by other magazine journalists. And right off the bat, the overall ranking for the LX in its class, well, it's disappointing. Motor Trend put the LX 6th out of 7 rigs in their group of full-size luxury SUVs. And even in Car and Driver's list, which was bigger, it ranked 10th out of 10 vehicles. Again, dead last. But why are these results so low for a brand known for its reliable luxury SUVs? Well, for starters, it did the classic full-size SUV cardinal sin: a bad third row. I won't complain about it anymore, but I think we're sensing a theme here, don't ya? And that's not the only thing that demerits this Lexus. Car and Driver also added that it's missing features that others currently offer, things like massaging seats and third row amenities. I mean, who doesn't want to massage while they're driving? In fact, the third row is kind of an afterthought, as the base model doesn't even have them. You have to pay for a higher trim if you want those. But the harshest penalty comes from the ride quality. Though it is cushy, journalists weren't impressed with the way it was dampened, and Motor Trend went so far as to compare it to a pickup truck. Yikes. So, instead of the Lexus, buy this, the 2025 Cadillac Escalade. It actually starts at a slightly lower price overall, and it's a much better option. So, let's go through the rankings of the Escalade. For both Car and Driver and Motor Trend, the Escalade ranked 3rd overall. Hey, a podium still gets you a trophy. As far as Consumer Reports, the Escalade took the #1 spot. Of course, the Escalade, it's not perfect. I mean, it's a GM product after all. But the high points of this vehicle not only outshine its own lows, but it also tops most of the cars in its class. Definitely the Lexus LX. Its raw power, uber comfy interior, and great features are only continuing what is becoming an absolute icon of the Cadillac brand. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but all of the winners so far have been American vehicles. And we promise there's no bias going on here, because it's pure coincidence that the USA has been killing the SUV game. We love big vehicles here. But if you wait to see our next do-buy pick, I have an inkling that it might change. Anyways, our next don't in the full-size luxury SUV segment is the 2025 Infiniti QX80. Now, Infiniti has been giving mixed messages for a while about what kind of brand they want to be. Luxury? Sport? I don't know. And while they have been confusing in other road cars like the Q50, the big QX80 should be straightforward and all luxury, right? Well, not completely. The new 2025 QX80 certainly looks fresh with all new sheet metal and a new interior. And while it looks better than the old one, yikes, it doesn't scream elegant luxury like it should. And speaking of that sport versus luxury thing that Infiniti has yet to figure out, well, Car and Driver made that apparent by criticizing the SUV's stiff ride quality, which is the opposite of the vehicle's intended use. Not to mention, they're putting features behind a paywall on a ride that already costs more than $80,000 in base form. The highest trim costs more than $110,000. The best thing about this car is probably that new twin-turbo V6, but even then, it doesn't save as much gas compared to the old one as we'd hoped. And with all these shortcomings, it's no wonder that the 2025 QX80 ranks as number 8 out of 10 on Car and Driver's luxury SUV list. Not to mention the 2024 model ranks 7th out of 7 on Motor Trend's luxury SUV list, and also got an unimpressive score on Consumer Reports tests. So if you're in the market for a luxury SUV, maybe don't opt for the Infiniti beyond, and instead go for our next thumb up pick with the 2024-2025 BMW X7. This behemoth has been getting better and better every year, and the last couple of years have been especially good. The brand new 2025 model actually topped Car and Driver's best full-size SUV list with a 9.5 out of 10 score. And the 2024 model ranked number 2 out of 12 luxury SUVs in Consumer Reports list. Those are some rave reviews, but what's so good about it? Well, the undeniable star of the show is the turbocharged straight-six engine that comes standard. It's known internally as the B58 and is one of the most dynamic and reliable engines in BMW's history. And the chassis that goes along with this engine in the X7 is nothing short of magic. It drives like a lifted sports car while also providing a feature-laden interior that'll keep you comfy every single day. Consumer Reports road test and predicted customer satisfaction are through the sunroof with this one. Gotta say, it most certainly deserves it. See, I told you the winners wouldn't be all American. And now, because the automotive world is changing and you might be interested in something that doesn't have an engine at all, let's talk about some full-size electric SUVs. And if there's one that you should avoid altogether, it's the 2024 Tesla Model X. Even though this SUV shocked the world with its straight-line performance and wild Falcon doors, the Model X is an order of magnitude behind its rivals. As always, let's look at the ratings. Now, not only does it rank 6th and last in Car and Driver's 3-row full-size EV SUV segment, but it also ranked 26th out of 28 on their luxury SUV list. And Consumer Reports, I didn't think you'd ask. It ranked 3rd out of 4 for 3-row EV SUVs that were tested and boast some of the worst predicted reliability out there. Not to mention, Consumer Reports' lows vastly outweighed the highs for the Model X. For such a forward-thinking company, it's surprising that it ranks so poorly. But it's not that surprising when you hear about its build quality. For the money that you spend, this Tesla lacks the level of luxury that you would expect. And it always seems like new Teslas just refuse to be screwed together properly these days. But it's not all doom and gloom for the electric segment, because Kia has something to say. And that's with the 2024 EV9. Oh boy, this guy is an overachiever. Not only does the EV9 rank number 1 in Consumer Reports' electric 3-row segment, but it also ranks 1st out of the 6 cars in Car and Driver's electric 3-row list, and it scores a perfect 10 out of 10. The EV9's exceptional road test scores, true family-friendly attributes, and simple yet futuristic styling genuinely deserve the title of being a class leader. It can also get up to 304 miles of range depending on trim, and according to Car and Driver, their EV9 had almost the fastest charging rate they have ever tested. Now, although the EV9 and Model X aren't necessarily direct competitors, they are both 3-row electric SUVs that aim to be comfortable and practical. And in my opinion, the Tesla's lack of luxury puts it in the same regular class as the EV9. So the only difference is that you'd pay almost 20 grand less for the EV9 and probably like it 20% more. All right, folks, so that was just a handful of some truly great full-size SUVs and of course some pretty unfortunate ones as well. But we want to know what you guys think of the new full-size SUVs and which ones that you would pick from this list. Let us know down below in the comments. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and check out these Ideal vids over here. I'm Brad, this is Ideal, we'll see you next week, and promise me one thing, keep living the Ideal lifestyle.